and a link for the recording will be sent to all registrants via email following the event. We encourage you to share amongst your teams and your colleagues. Second, note that under the related content section on your screen, you are able to download today's presentation as well as other relevant resources that we'll be covering as part of the webinar today. You can download them at any point during the webinar. Finally, we'll take the final portion of today's webinar to address questions from our audience. So as we go, to submit your questions via chat so that we get to them during the Q&A portion if they were not already addressed during the presentation. So today I am joined by two subject matter experts on cross-border shipments and customs, and it is an honor for me to present them both to you. Tabitha Balza is an International Customer Experience Senior Analyst with UPS based out of Miami, Florida, and she focuses on developing solutions to help simplify complex brokerage and customs processes for our shippers and recipients. Ashley White is a global brokerage training supervisor with UPS based out of Louisville, Kentucky, and she provides trainings for all things customs and brokerage and has focused on U.S. exports for 12 of her 16 years with UPS. I welcome both of them today, and I know that you're going to learn a ton from these knowledgeable leaders. So we have a lot to cover today, but I want to mention that this webinar is actually a direct result of feedback we received from you. Our SMB community voiced their need for basic customs information and walk through those basic processes. So that's what we're bringing you today. Ashley and Tabitha will cover terms and tariff codes, how to avoid as tips by region, and I'm particularly excited about the international shipping demo on ups.com. But before we get to them, to briefly remind our audience why exporting even matters for your business. So let's take a look. If you ever fall into thinking that your business is reaching its full potential by sticking to domestic shipping only, please remind yourself that 95% of global buyers are located outside the United States, representing more than 70% of the world's purchasing power. And not only that, but largely due to high demand of U.S. goods around the world, facing domestic commerce, giving you a leg up over your competition if you choose to reach these new customers in new markets. And now, of who's in our audience today, we're actually going to launch a quick poll. And so I ask you answer based on what is your business size annual sales. We want to know, I'm going to give you a few moments, less than a minute. So go ahead and choose which category your business. All right, I'll give it about 5 more seconds. And go ahead, the results. Okay, so we have a good mix, 65% $500,000, but we certainly have a share of those who are less than $50,000, 20%, and you can see the other buckets there. So what's interesting is that you might be a small company that's already shipping internationally. You might be a larger company that hasn't made that taken that step yet. So we have content and expertise for all of you here today. All right, so with this, not only opportunity out in the market, but by strategically exporting, your business can experience greater growth rate, stability, and risk mitigation compared to businesses who don't export. To find out more about the differences between being a passive exporter and a strategic one, you can check out our Exports 101 webinar on ups.com/webinars. And with that, I am thrilled to pass the mic to Ashley, who will give us crucial basic customs information we need for establishing a strong exporting foundation. Take it away, Ashley.
Thanks, Hamina. I am going to get started with the journey of a package. So as you can see, this visual will help you understand all of the things that your shipments will have to go through as they leave the country. The first marker indicates your notification to us to let us know you will be tendering a shipment. Ideally, you would give us all the information needed up front if you designate yourself as a paperless shipper. There will either be pickup or drop off. Then the package will arrive at the UPS facility. From there, the documents are scanned. And remember, if you're signed up as paperless shipper, your package will bypass this step. So that image will then be uploaded to the UPS system while the package is physically loaded to the export facility. Depending on the destination, those facilities are strategically placed across the U.S. So while the package is on its way to the export site, our key entry teams audit the data received to the documents provided and make sure that export requirements are met. Once the package arrives to the export facility, it will receive another scan. It'll register that the data is complete and it will be on its way out of the country. It'll be sorted once it arrives. The import site ensures that those requirements are met, and then it will be delivered to the receiver. So let's get into some of the common terms and definitions you'll encounter while growing your export business. I do want to preface this by saying that at UPS we love acronyms and initialisms, so you will see a lot of them. And it's only right coming from a company whose name is in fact an initialism. First one, customs. Customs is the entity that levies duties on goods. The Harmonized System, or HS code, is the universal standard system used to classify products. Going along with that is the Harmonized Tariff Schedule, or HTS code, which is the system used to determine duties to be paid. International Commercial, or Incoterms, are a set of terms used to explain the payment of fees associated with moving goods internationally, and I'll highlight two specifically. Delivery Duty Unpaid, or DDU, is when the seller pays for delivery charges and the consignee pays for duties and taxes. The next one is Delivery Duty Paid, or DDP. This one is when the seller pays for delivery charges as well as duties and taxes. De minimis value is the minimum value threshold per shipment that the country will not assign duties or taxes. Keep in mind, this is different for each country. The commercial invoice is a document required for both exporting the country as well as importing the destination country. We'll get to more on that in a minute for sure. AES, Automated Export System, is the system that collects information to submit electronically to customs. Power of Attorney, POA, something that grants a broker the authority to act on your behalf. International Special Commodity is a contractual offering to allow commodities that aren't otherwise accepted. Waiver, or IHVW, is another contractual offering allowing packages that are over $50,000 US. Denied Party Screening, or DPS, is an internal team of UPSers that screen parties involved in the shipping transaction against a government-regulated listing. Participating government agencies, or PGAs, are agencies that work with CBP to regulate commodities, such as EPA, APHIS, FDA, and ATF. So that does it for the terms. I know that was a lot, but let's keep going. Let's talk about the single most important document when shipping, the commercial invoice. An invoice is required to export all non-document shipments. And all that means is that the shipment has actual goods or commodities inside, not just paperwork alone. It does have to be clear and complete. And by complete, I mean it has to have where and who the shipment is coming from, where and who it's going to, clear description of the goods, along with the value of the goods, classification codes, and country of origin of the goods. And remember, you will be able to access this commercial invoice guide linked at the bottom of this slide. Other customs documents include this EEI form. EEI stands for Electronic Export Information. So earlier I talked about the AES, which is how we send all of these required data elements to the appropriate government agency. And EEI is required for shipments containing a single commodity valued at over $2,500 US. It's also required if the shipment is licensable, requires a permit, or has commodities classified in a particular category going to military end user countries, which would be subject to the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, or ITAR. Shifting gears just a bit, let's talk about POA, Power of Attorney. There are two separate companies under the UPS family umbrella, which would be Worldwide Forwarding for small package export only, and Supply Chain Solutions for small package import brokerage, freight, air, ocean import, and export. This is an example of the POA form. This grants UPS to file AES on the behalf of the shipper. So there is also an addendum available to cover multiple accounts under a single POA to make things a bit easier. And that is all for me. With that, I will turn it over to you, Tabitha, so we can learn about tariff codes.
All right, thank you, Ashley. All right, let's dig deeper on tariff codes. So why do we need them? So imagine we have to ship all these goods to several countries. When we speak different languages, we have cultural differences. So it's important that we have a way, a system, so we can all recognize the goods of the. So that's why the tariff code exists. Now we have the harmonized system, as Ashley said, is a system for global classification. So all the countries that are under this system, we have over 200 economies, use this to classify the goods. And that refers to the first 6 digits of the tariff. Now, talk about harmonized tariff system, or HTS, is when we add the other numbers, the last digits on the right, they're very specific to the, all right? So when we have now a number between 7 to 10 digits, sometimes 12, depending to the whole HTS code. So what is the number? So how we use that? Oh, customs use it. Is on the tariff book. So if you see number 10 is the chapter, heading is number 6, then the subheading, and that is what qualifies for the global classification, the HS. That's going to be the same for all the countries. And then we have the tariff item and class number in the right, and that's going to be specific to the import country. So it's going to vary depending on the import country you're sending your goods to. So to give you an example, we have the U.S. tariff book here, and it's on the same chapter of that number that I just gave you. So it's chapter 10, and you see it's kind of complex. So you have all the types of rice, and depending of what type it is, you have different numbers and classifications. And on your right, you're gonna see the unit of quantity, you're gonna see the actual rate. So different things customs use to rate or assess your product or your shipment. So this example that I give you is the long grain brown rice, and this is for the U.S. tariff. So it's importing to the U.S. So referring to cereal, 06, then the 20 tell us that is a brown rice, and that's gonna be our HS global, so it's gonna be the same for everybody. Long grain, and that's specific to the U.S. I wanted to give you this example because on your right, you can see for the EU and for Canada, we have the same 6 digits, the HS 100620, but it changes at 1799 for EU and 00 for Canada. So that kind of gives you the classification on how your goods are gonna be assessed by customs. And why this is important.
Apologies, if I could just interrupt you, going back to that slide. I think that's such a helpful slide because we get the questions so often. What is the difference between HTS codes? And this, I think, outlines it beautifully. And so I know we have a lot of questions asking about the actual deck. Can webinar, so you will have all the links and in the deck as well under related content. Sorry, go ahead, but I love this slide.
No, perfect. Yes, absolutely. So that's why it's important. So you understand when people say HS, HES is not the same thing. So you need to know the difference. Now, this is important for the calculation, but not only the code is important for the calculation, there's other things that go into it. And I kind of want to give you that information as well. It varies by country and there's a lot more, but this is like the most important thing. So origin and destination, as you saw, since the code is going to change by the import country, but also because you have agreements between countries for taxation, for duties, for other things. So free trade agreements, all of that is going to vary by origin and destination combination. Unit of measure, as you saw in the tariff book, you have the kilograms, you have that unit that you need to have to classify to have your tariff code. Then you have mode of transportation, so it depends how, if it's by air, by ground, how it's transported, that also is going to take into account. The product type and value, so that's why you get the code, but you also have to say how much that goods, that item, their product cost. And then the quantity, so it's not the same to ship 1 that ship 100. So all of this is going to take place to determine your duty and tax calculation. And we actually wanted to ask you a question. Now that you see the complexity on where to look for your tariff code, you have to go to the tariff book for the country you're importing to, and you have to take all these things into consideration as well. What do you think it will be better for your business? If it's having a free estimate or a guarantee amount for a fee? So I'm going to give you a little more time for you to answer this question. So for when shipping internationally, what do you prefer? Duties and taxes to be a free estimate, so you just see and maybe it's estimate, and when customs assess at the end, you probably have a difference, or a guarantee fee that you're probably going to have to pay a fee up front. It's not free, but you don't have to worry about the amount anymore of the duties and taxes. It's a guarantee amount, and you don't have to worry again. So let's see. I'm going to give you one more second. All right, so it's hand in hand. It depends on your business, right? So a free estimate, probably if you've shipped the same thing over and over, you have a clear idea of how much your duties and taxes are. But you're shipping different things, your products varies, changes, you probably will, get a good help from that guaranteed. So now that you have all these little nuggets, and especially from Ashley, about your terms and definitions and all the things that you need, we want to give you some tips, and especially tips to avoid customs delays. So this is most especially for U.S. export and customer base. Why customer base? Because there are holds that you cannot control, and even us. So weather, transportation, things that you cannot control. But this over here is something that you can do, and it will make a difference, especially for customs. So the first one, missing invoice and late invoice upload. So as Ashley was saying, every time you ship goods internationally, you need to have a commercial invoice. And if you're missing that, or if you send it later after your shipment has gone through, you're gonna get a hold. So make sure if you're shipping paper, you print it out, you put it. If you have the option digitally, just upload it right away. Don't upload it 2 days later, just the same day. And a tip, if you're a WorldShip user, just run your end of day. Run your end of day all, it will have no problem with your commercial invoice. The second most important is the power of attorney. As Ashley was saying, it's not for all shipments, but it's for commodities or commodities of $1,500 in the US at least. So if you know you have a special commodity or you are shipping above this number, fill out that power of attorney and attach it to your package. The third one is inadequate merchandise description. So it's not about your product per se, but you need a description of the whole shipment. And sometimes we give a very general information. For example, if you're shipping math books, biology books, fantasy books, and then you put just books on the description, that's too general. You're probably gonna get a hold. So make sure when you're describing your whole merchandise, you said like educational children books, something that is a little more specific to everything that you're shipping. And if you have different things, it's not the same category, it's better for you to list it so you have a more comprehensive description. The third one is missing documents or incomplete documents. So the problem, if you ship paper, you probably lose a page or you have other documents that you need besides the commercial invoice and power of attorney. If you know you're shipping like food, animal-derived products, or anything that is special or restricted, you probably will need more document than just a commercial invoice. So do your due diligence and make sure you attach all the documents to your package or upload it if you can. And the fifth one is the wrong value. So if you put the wrong value on your documents or they're different between the documents, you're gonna get a hold. So make sure you put the correct information of the value and you avoid all these issues. These are US export, but the missing invoice and the power of attorney are like the main ones for all countries. So I can guarantee you if you take care of this, it will be a better experience, at least with these holds on customs. Now, tips by region. We have like the three main ones if you're exporting from the US, Canada, Europe, and Latin America. For Canada, as Ashley was saying, we have a low threshold of de minimis. So that value that you don't get duties and taxes on is very low. For example, for the US, when you're importing is $800. For Canada is 40 Canadian dollars. So it's very, very small. So keep in mind, if you're shipping to Canada, even if a small amount between 40 and 150 Canadian dollars, you probably will get duties assessed. Not taxes, but yes, duties. And the power of attorney is a little bit different. It's not 2,500, it's 3,300 Canadian dollars, but it's for the same, the restricted goods or special goods. So make sure if you're shipping to Canada, you take those two things into account. We let you a little link there that you can get more information if you want. For Europe, when you're shipping to Europe, it's very important to know the VAT, so value add tax. Even if you're shipping a small amount, that changed last year on July. You need to be registered in the Import One Stop Shop IOSS platform. So if you're shipping to EU, make sure you do that registration. You have the links in there that you can go and click, get more information, and the EU's website. And for UK, since it is not part of Europe, the European Union anymore, you need an economic operator registration and identification number to ship into the UK and export from the UK. So if you're going to do any type of business with the UK, make sure you click that link over there and register for that number. And lastly, for Latin America, they mostly need the tax ID and identification number to clear customs. So if you're going to ship there, just warn your recipient that they might need to provide that information in order that your package clear customs. So it's better to have it up hand or just to let them know that's probably going to be an information needed. So we also wanted to kind of ask you a question on this. Now that we're giving you all the support, for you, when you're shipping internationally, it will be better to have supported resources prior the shipping, during the shipping, or both. So when you have guidance, when you need resources, do you prefer to do it before shipping, during shipping, or both? So I'll give you a few seconds to reply. So this is for the support. So probably you want to do your due diligence a little earlier, or if you prefer to have that guidance with you during the shipping flow. All right, let's see it. So kind of what I have. So before shipping is good to do your due diligence, but also during. So you see that 58% of you prefer to have it both ways. Okay. So with that, we wanted to give you a demo. So to wrap everything up, all the information we're giving you, we want to actually show you how it is to ship internationally on UPS.com.
Hi, today we'll be reviewing how to process an international shipment on UPS.com. You'll find there are a lot of similarities to shipping domestically, but also important differences. And we want to guide you so you feel confident in the information and the steps required for an international shipment. First, go to UPS.com, select your region, and then click Ship. At this point, if you have an account, I recommend you log in to get full benefits, like being able to save products or future shipments, using saved addresses, and more. If not, it's okay. You can still ship as a guest. I'll go ahead and log in. Now let's start. We'll do this in 6 main steps. First step, let's enter your information as the shipper, and then where and to who the package is going. In this case, I'm going to ship from the US to Canada. Since it is an existing account, I have all the information saved. If no addresses are saved, you need to enter it. It is very important that the receiver's information is accurate. Customs work mostly with the recipient more than the shipper, so if any issues arise, they will contact them. One tip, when shipping internationally, governments have a denied party list, which contains addresses or entities that we cannot ship to. If we detect one, it doesn't happen often, we will alert you right away and let you know that the package might be held or returned so you can review the recipient and decide if you want to continue or stop the shipment. After completion, click Continue. Now we're in step 2. Enter your package information and dimensions if you have it, but only weight is mandatory. I will enter 3 pounds for my shipment. Then click Continue. In step 3, you determine how quickly you need your package to arrive. Since I'm in no hurry, I will save some money with UPS Standard. These are published rates. If you have a shipper account with UPS and have discounts, it will show up here. Now click Continue. We are now on step 4. This is the biggest difference between shipping domestically and internationally. We need information about the products you are sending for custom purposes. First, we need to describe the purpose of the shipment. Is it a gift, a sample, or are you selling these items? Choose one from the list. Second, enter a description of the products as a whole. Try not to be vague and be sure to describe the whole shipment. See the help bubble over here. Be aware that lots of shipments are held because this description is too general. Third click, Get Started. If you have an account, here's where you can reuse previously shipped products. Select the products and all the information will be there. You just have to enter the quantities to ship. Let's say we are shipping 1 today. Then click Next. Now, if it's a new product, click Add Additional Product and it will take you to the previous screen where you can enter all the new information. For step 4, let's complete the product information. If you know your product tariff code, please enter it here. A harmonized tariff code is a global standard code assigned to promote for imports and exports. They are also known as HTS codes. These are numbers between 8 to 10 digits. The first numbers refer to the product, and the last digits are specific to the country you are importing to. If you don't have the code, we can predict it based on your product description to give you an estimated cost. Start filling in the information here. It is very important that the description of the product is as detailed as possible. If you are shipping address, please enter any other detail that you have, such as the material, color, etc. I will enter Children Math Book. We will need unit of measure. If it's a bag, a case, what you use. I'll select a box. We also need the value of the product as package, as a single unit. Mine is $10. And the last detail is country of origin. This is where the product was made or assembled, and not the country, although they may be the same. Mine was made in France. Across all the fields, you have little tips you can use to guide you. There is no need to memorize all these steps. By default, if you have an account, we will save your product to your catalog for reuse. You do have the ability to turn off this capability here, but I recommend you leave it on for easier future shipping. You can have around 4,000 products saved in your catalog. Now, choose a reference and a unique ID in order to save your product. Now that we have entered all the needed information, let's input how many we are shipping today. I'm shipping 2. Click Next, and you can review all the entered products and keep adding if you need to. I don't have any additional products to add, so I'll click I'm done. Now we're back to this page, and I see that a commercial invoice is automatically filled out for me. You can review and edit if necessary. The commercial invoice is very important for customs. Missing or incomplete commercial invoice is one of the top reasons why packages get held in customs. Below the commercial invoice, there are some tips of other forms you might need. For example, the EEI, or Electronic Export Information Form, is for when you are shipping from the U.S. with goods over $2,500 or other items that need a special license. You can see which ones on that link. Also, you can see if your product qualifies for free trade agreement waiver or reduction. In this case, my shipment falls under USMCA, United States, Canada, and Mexico Free Trade Agreement, previously known as NAFTA, North America Free Trade Agreement. We won't get into the other specific forms for this video, but they are great tools to avoid holds and reduce duties and taxes if your shipment qualifies. Let's scroll down and click Continue. Step 5. Now we choose our method of payment. I'll use a credit card. After entering your payment info, you will see estimated duties and taxes displayed. This may vary according to any free trade agreements that apply or how accurate the description you provided was. This will avoid surprise duties and taxes at delivery for you and especially for your customer, the recipient. You can now use this estimate to inform your customer or to know around how much duties and taxes you may pay. To see a breakdown of the estimated duties and taxes, click the See Estimate Detail link. Click Continue when you are done reviewing. In this step, you can also choose how to pay for duties and taxes charges. After those are completely assessed by customs, here are the different options. It is possible to use the recipient's custom broker for some countries. After this, we can go to step 6 and review our shipment. Let's click Review. Make sure everything is okay and submit your shipment. After clicking Pay and Get Labels, 2 pop-ups will appear. One to print your label and one for your commercial invoice. Attach both to the package. Remember, this is very important to avoid holds. At the bottom of the page, you can also manage your shipments. If you click Manage Global Parts Catalog, you will see all your saved products. You can edit them or enter new products outside the shipping flow. Now congrats, you are done. Now drop your package off with UPS and let the recipient know it is on the way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tabitha and Ashley. You unpacked a lot of information, so I want to remind our audience to go ahead and download the deck if you haven't already done so that you can reference the terms, the processes, the links at any time. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and shift our time into our Q&A portion with our audience. So unsurprisingly, we've gotten a ton of questions during this webinar, so I'm going to go ahead and pose the first question to you, Ashley, and it's about power of attorney, POA. Why do I need to file power of attorney? And as a follow-up, does it need to be filed every time I ship?
Okay, so the power of attorney isn't something that you file. The power of attorney is something that you are granting UPS in this example so that we will be able to file AES on your behalf. And remember, the AES is the system that we are able to submit all of the required electronic information for the shipment to export to the particular government agency that needs to know what you are shipping and what's leaving the country. So the POA would be required if we are filing on your behalf.
And
okay,
just to add, Jimena, if I can,
yes.
And it's a very specific threshold. So if you're shipping over $2,500 for the U.S., and if it's a special commodity, so only in those situations, it doesn't have to be with every shipment, and that varies by country. So as I was saying, Canada, the threshold is 3,300 Canadian dollars. For U.S. is 2,500. So it depends on the country you're importing to and about the goods that you're importing as well.
Thank you. That's a great clarification. Go ahead.
Yeah, the $2,500 US dollars is per commodity, so not the total shipment value, just per commodity.
Right.
Okay, and I think you just answered another question from the audience. Let's stick with POA. Can you talk? I think there might be some confusion between POA and EEI, which you also mentioned. Can you, either of you, kind of dissect the differences?
Okay. The EEI is the Export Electronic Information. So that is the specific data elements that we are telling the government are leaving the country. So in order for UPS to be able to report those data elements on your behalf, we have to have the power of attorney, the POA, on file, where you, as the shipper, has said, yes, UPS can notify the government of what I'm sending out of the country. So that's the primary distinction between the two. We wouldn't be able to file your EEI on your behalf without the POA.
Great, thank you. And Tabitha, you mentioned the value threshold as well as special commodities. I believe you mentioned it, but can you remind our audience what are some examples of special commodities? What does that mean?
So it will be like food related, animal derived commodities, or it depends on the country what they deem special or restricted. So I always suggest that you guide yourself on the country you're gonna import to. But if you are shipping something like with food, animals, always keep in mind that might be a special commodity.
Okay, thank you. All right, next question, going back to our HTS codes. How can our audience members find HTS codes for different countries?
So the very tedious way is the tariff book. So each country will have a tariff book, as I showed you in the example for the U.S., and you can look through that in the classifications. But there are also tools that you can use. We have APIs that they can help you classify. There's also other options outside of UPS. But for us, we do it for you if you don't know it. So as you saw on the demo, it happens on the demo or UPS.com, and also for WorldShip. If you import your description and information, we can classify it and give you an estimated duties and taxes. So it's mostly so you can get the idea. But when you ship with UPS or any broker agency, they're going to do the classification for you. Even if you input an HTS code, and by the experience that the brokers has, if they see that's not longer accurate, or you miss some little classification, as you saw, it's so many types that you can maybe get the first 8 perfect and the last 2 are not. So the broker with the experience will actually rate it for you and then submit it to customs. So you don't have to worry about it much if you have UPS or other brokerage representing you. But if you're going to do it by yourself, I recommend you to go and get the tariff book or any other type of classification engine that can do it for you, that you can input all your information. And even there is no guarantee. So it's very complex. I will recommend always use a broker. Don't do it alone if you don't have to.
All right. And I just did. Sorry about that. Where would you send the invoice? Where do you send the invoice electronically? Sorry, before we get there, you did mention WorldShip, Tabitha. We have had several of our audience members that actually use WorldShip instead of UPS.com to do their shipping. Is there a good resource that you can point them to for international shipping using WorldShip?
Yeah, so there's actually a message center for WorldShip that have different tutorials or resources. You will have to browse to get the international part, but the information is kind of the same. The looks of it is different, but you will have to be required the same information: the shipper, the recipient, the product information, the description. So kind of it will be the same information, just a different field. But definitely we can provide a link to that resource center on UPS.com.
Okay, wonderful. And yes, for those questions that require additional follow-up or those that we can't get to, we will probably be we will put together a one-pager to send out after the fact so that we can get your questions answered. Okay, this may be for Ashley. Do you have to have a declaration statement on the commercial invoice?
That answer is that it depends. So depending on the destination, we would need to do some additional follow-up to find the best answer for that question.
Okay. And a good reminder if you do have questions about your own international shipping strategy, you can go ahead and schedule that free 15-minute virtual consultation with one of our experts. Okay, so this is, I think, an interesting one. This person has a question on commercial invoices where you have to list your country of origin. She says they say we buy some parts from China, some parts domestically we assemble in the U.S. Can we list the USA as country of origin?
Yes. If the goods are being assembled in the U.S. and then exporting, then the country of origin of the finished product would be the U.S.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Back to you, Ashley, probably. Do I need to register for AES?
If you are filing on your behalf, which is another option, then yes, you can submit your own EEI through AES yourself.
Okay. And Tabitha, what is the difference between duties and taxes?
So the duties are going to be specific to your commodity, to the product, the item that you are shipping. And the taxes are going to be also depending on that, but also depends on the country that you are, any agreements they have. So they go together, but sometimes you get only duties because of the commodity. For Europe, the example, you can get only a tax, a value add tax to your product because duty doesn't apply if it's under a certain amount of money. So it really varies by country, but one is commodity specific. The other one can be the taxes, can be because of different situations, like agreements between countries, etc. Not only specific to the commodity, the item.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thank you. All right, back to you, Ashley. If I'm sending something with no transaction value, so there's no sale, could I assign 0 value to customs value? Note that there's no sale happening in the transfer.
No. Customs requires the value for all non-document commodities. So it can be assigned a nominal value. You could indicate on the invoice that the value of the shipment to the recipient is 0. You are not charging them, you're not selling the product, but the commodity itself does in fact have a value that needs to be addressed for customs purposes.
All right.
Yeah, just one little thing to add to that. When you're having the options, you can say, as Ashley said, if you're selling this item, it's a gift, is a sample. So the value you have to put it, even if you purchase it, you're not selling it. Let's say I purchase a shirt that I want to gift to Jimena in another country. So I will put, I paid $20 for it, but it's a gift. So it's not like I'm selling her that shirt.
And does that affect, we have another question saying that if I'm sending gifts to my family internationally, is the way to cut down on duties? Or was that?
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the amount. So not all gifts, like if you're shipping, if it's a lot, you still probably not get duties where you will get taxes. So it really depends on the amount and what you're shipping.
Okay. And Tabitha, still with you, is the HTS code and Schedule B code the same thing?
So Schedule B is really specific for U.S. that I know of. Ashley, if you have more information, I'll ask your help. But the HS is general, so Schedule B and the chapters are gonna be different by country. So that's just a specific type of code, of tariff code.
That's correct.
Okay.
So Schedule B is very U.S. centric. The HTS is something that's recognized globally, so that's why that's the preference.
All right. Thank you. If the receiver refuses to pay customs and the package is returned to the shipper, are we still required to pay the customs fee? Not sure if any of you can answer that one.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I will prefer to follow up because I think
Sure.
in some instances they do have to, but since they didn't enter the country, they don't. So I think it varies, but I would like to follow up.
Okay. And we have questions come in about paperless invoice, electronic. How does one become a paperless shipper?
So right
Who wants
now,
to take that?
yeah, you have to do an enrollment process. You have to go to ups.com, enroll, provide some information, and then you can upload your invoice paperless. But the good news is that we're working that you don't have to do this enrollment process. So sooner rather than later, you will be able to be automatically enrolled. You don't have to worry about it, and you can send all your commercial invoice paperless. So that's coming, but right now we can send you the link where you can enroll if you want to do it right away.
All right. Yeah, and we are excited about some things coming up. So certainly we'll be back on these webinars to announce some changes to our processes.
Yes.
How do we get UPS to be our broker?
When you're using any other platforms, if you don't put like you want to use a specific third agency or the receiver's broker, then we will automatically be your broker.
All right. Okay, and so we have a couple minutes left. So let me see some new ones who came in. Okay, it looks like we're answering a lot of the questions. So I actually have a question for both of you. You shared a lot of information. What is the number one piece of advice that you would give our audience, knowing that they're either just starting on their exports journey or thinking about starting? I'll start with you, Tabitha, and then go to Ashley before we wrap up.
All right. So I will give you two. The first one is that don't do it alone. It's very complex. So either you have a team. If you're a larger company, you can have a team, a compliance team that help you with your products. If not, I will rely to a broker, either UPS or anything you feel comfortable with. But be sure you don't do it alone because there's a lot of nuances. And even if you do it right now, regulations change all the time. So probably what you thought it was like in 1 month can be another thing. So first advice, don't do it alone. And second, always attach your documents. So don't forget that to your package. If you're not paperless, if you cannot do it right now, always attach copies. Always make sure that's in there so you don't have any hiccups or delays, because timing is everything right now. You need to get your package in time, your receiver is pending. So make sure you put those invoices there.
Right. And Ashley?
Definitely echo those sentiments. Invoice, making sure that all of the information is there. If you are not a paperless customer, making sure that you have all of the details needed, that your descriptions are very specific, making sure that there are additional copies of the invoice on the outside of the package, because if that's not already uploaded to us, we'll need to make sure that we have access to that information to cut down on any potential holds for your shipment. So definitely make sure that you have your invoice and that it is complete, accurate, clear with values of each commodity, etc. So that would be my best piece of advice for sure.
All right. Thank you again. We certainly hope that this has been an informative webinar for all of you who are looking to grow your businesses globally and to succeed in the customs part of their journey. I do want to draw your attention to 3 next steps that you can take after this webinar. One is you can actually check out our Export Success Bundle on our Go Global page at ups.com/Go Global. Also, I've mentioned this before, and we did receive several questions regarding imports. This was an exports-focused webinar, but if you have questions about imports or exports, basically your international shipping strategy, I've mentioned it before, but I do encourage you to sign up for our free 15-minute virtual consultation with our UPS solutions experts, and they will provide the support that you need. You can go to ups.com/consultation, or you can click on the Discuss Your Business Needs link that appears on your screen. Finally, for more info on exporting and other topics for small and medium businesses, you can check out ups.com/webinars. So we thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you spending the last hour with us and hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. A big thank you to Tabitha and Ashley as well for spending the hour and really schooling us on a lot of things customs. So thank you and happy exporting.
Thank you.